No one really knows where you came from. 3 different countries claim you. 2 other countries say you're a criminal. The university on your resume? They released a statement. This man never attended here. Before politics, you ran drugs, bags, boats, borders. That's where the first $50 million came from. And somehow you washed it clean, entered politics, and now it's your inauguration day. The crowd is cheering, but behind that smile, you already own the country. Welcome to your life as the most corrupt president in the world. Level 1. The First Promise. The oath takes 40 seconds. You've rehearsed it in front of a mirror for a week, practicing the exact pause before "So help me God," long enough to look humbled, short enough to not look weak. The crowd doesn't know that. They just see a man in a sharp navy suit, hand on a book he's never read, promising change. Change, you say into the microphone. Jobs, food for everyone, a country that finally works for its people. They roar. Somewhere in that crowd is a mother who hasn't eaten today so her son could. A boy who wants to be an engineer but can't afford the exam fees. An old man who voted for you because he reminded him, just slightly, of hope. You believe some of what you said. That's the part nobody understands about men like you. You're not a cartoon villain twirling a mustache. You actually think, for about a week, that you might do some good along the way. Then the calls start. Your cousin Marcus wants the Ministry of Transport. Not because he knows anything about roads, he doesn't, he's never driven a truck in his life, but because transport signs the contracts for every highway project in the country, and highway contracts are worth billions. Your old business partner Ray wants energy, obviously. Energy is where the real money lives. By the end of your first week in office, every ministry that matters is filled with someone who owes you or someone you owe. Not one of them was chosen for competence. All of them were chosen for loyalty. The second thing you do, before you've even unpacked your office, is push a bill through Parliament. It's dressed up in legal language, buried in a 200-page document about executive continuity and national stability. Nobody reads all 200 pages. If they had, they'd have found Article 14, Section 3. Sitting presidents cannot be prosecuted for actions taken during their term, past or present. It passes at 11:47 p.m., with half the chamber asleep. You sign it the next morning, with a smile for the cameras. A necessary protection for the office, you call it. What it actually is, a lock on a door, and you just made sure no one but you has the key. Then you start small. A road repair contract that should cost $2 million gets billed at $6 million. A hospital renovation, quoted at $4 million, comes in at $11 million. The difference doesn't vanish, it moves through 3 shell companies into 2 offshore accounts, and finally into a house account with your name nowhere on it. Nobody notices yet. The roads still get built, just slower and cheaper than promised. The hospital still opens, just with fewer beds than the blueprint showed. People are patient in year 1. They still believe you're learning the job. You're not learning the job. You're learning exactly how much you can take before anyone looks up. Level 2. The appetite grows. By year 2, small isn't interesting anymore. The National Oil Reserve, the thing that's supposed to fund schools, hospitals, roads for the next 50 years, starts routing through a new logistics partner. That partner is a company you set up 18 months ago under Ray's cousin's name. Every barrel that leaves the port pays a fee to a company that does nothing but exist on paper. Foreign aid arrives next. $500 million, wired in from 3 different countries, earmarked for infrastructure, clean water systems, rural electrification, a new rail line connecting the coast to the interior. The money lands, then it disappears, piece by piece, into administrative costs, logistical overhead, Phase 1 consulting fees for consulting firms that share a P.O. box with your Minister of Finance. A rail line gets 10 miles of track laid, then quietly stalls.
A well drilling project produces 4 wells out of a promised 60. The paperwork says otherwise. The paperwork always says otherwise. Then there's the land. Villages that have farmed the same soil for 3 generations get a letter. Eminent domain, it says. National Development Initiative. Families who have never seen a lawyer in their lives are given 72 hours to leave homes their grandparents built. 6 months later, that same land is sold, not given, sold, to a foreign investment group building a resort and a private airstrip. The investment group pays into an account. The account pays into another account. That account eventually buys you a boat. The people who criticize any of this, a newspaper columnist here, an opposition senator there, start getting a very specific kind of attention. Their taxes get audited. Their businesses get inspected daily until they can't operate. A talk show host who mentions corruption one too many times finds his show canceled the next morning. No explanation given. The media doesn't need to be told twice. A few consulting fees paid to network owners, a few advertising contracts awarded to friendly outlets, and suddenly criticism of you becomes rare. When it does appear, it's labeled clearly, consistently, on every channel that still owes you a favor. Enemy of the state. You buy your 5th mansion that year. 14 bedrooms, a private dock, staff quarters bigger than most of your citizens' actual homes. 2 weeks after the sale closes, you stand at a podium and tell the nation with a straight face that the government is tightening its belt and asking citizens to make short-term sacrifices for long-term national growth. The applause is smaller this year, but it's still applause. Level 3. The walls go up. By year 4, the questions have started, and questions are the one thing you can't afford. A journalist named Aline started digging, quietly, carefully, into where your first fortune actually came from, the university that never taught you, the passport stamps that don't add up, the years between your 20s and the moment you appeared, fully funded, on the political scene. She published 1 article. It didn't even name you directly, just asked questions, laid out inconsistencies, invited readers to draw their own conclusions. She hasn't published anything since. Officially, she's on leave. Unofficially, no one has heard from her in 5 weeks, and the people who ask too loudly about where she went find their own names quietly added to watch lists. She's not the only one. A blogger who cross-referenced old shipping manifests with your name went quiet the same month. A university lecturer who taught a seminar titled Case Studies in State Capture, using your country as an unnamed example, lost his position within the semester. Elections are approaching, and for the first time, you feel something close to nervous. The Constitution is clear. 2 terms, then you step aside. So you don't step aside. You change the Constitution instead. A national referendum, heavily funded, heavily broadcast, heavily monitored by election officials who report directly to your office, delivers an overwhelming result. Term limits gone. The people apparently have spoken. To make sure they keep speaking the right way, you take care of the men with guns. Military generals get new houses, new vehicles, promotions that skip 2 ranks at once. Police captains get quiet bonuses, paid in cash, for maintaining peace during the referendum period. Peace that in 3 cities involved live ammunition fired into unarmed crowds. Then, the video. Nobody knows exactly how it leaked. One moment it's a private recording, the next it's on every phone in the country. Your son, 24 years old, the one people used to call humble and earth-to-earth in magazine profiles, is on camera at a private party tossing stacks of cash into the air like confetti while his friends film it laughing. Within an hour, it has 1 million views. By morning, 10 million. You go on national television that night, jaw tight, eyes steady, and call it what your team decided to call it hours earlier in a war room full of lawyers. Fake news, a deep fake, a coordinated attack by foreign enemies designed to destabilize a democratically elected government. Half the country believes you, the other half already knew.
Level 4. The foundation shifts. Year 5 arrives, and this is the year the numbers stop cooperating. The economy, propped up for years on debt, favors, and quietly stolen reserves, finally buckles. The currency drops, then drops again. Food prices climb, not slowly, but in a matter of weeks, until bread costs 5 times what it did a year ago, and cooking gas becomes a luxury item. Lines form outside banks. People who worked their whole lives find their savings worth a fraction of what they were 12 months ago. Protests start small, a few hundred people outside a government building, and grow into thousands, then tens of thousands, filling the same square where your inauguration crowd once cheered your name. Abroad, the walls close in faster than at home. 2 countries that had quietly ignored your past for the sake of trade deals suddenly stop ignoring it. Your accounts, the ones layered through shell companies, the ones you thought were untouchable, get frozen almost overnight. Old drug trafficking cases, shelved for over a decade due to insufficient evidence and, more accurately, insufficient political will, get reopened with new witnesses and new urgency. The betrayals start close to home. Your Minister of Finance, the same man who helped rout $500 million into nothing, starts quietly meeting with prosecutors from a neighboring country, trading everything he knows for a promise of immunity. Ray, your oldest friend, the man who got the energy ministry because you trusted him with your life, starts moving his own money out of the country without telling you. You realize, slowly and then all at once, that loyalty in your government was never loyalty to you, it was loyalty to the money, and the money is running out. The people who once cheered your name now burn your posters in the street. Effigies of you hang from lampposts in the capital. The same news channels that used to protect you, the ones you paid for years, start running stories they would never have dared run 12 months ago, because they can feel, the way animals feel weather changing, that your protection is no longer worth keeping. Level 5. The coup. The generals you paid so well come for you themselves. No trial, no exile, just tanks in the street before noon, and a very polite, very short statement announcing a transition of power for the stability of the nation. They let you keep the palace for one final night. You walk through it alone, through rooms with 14-foot ceilings, past art you bought with money that was never yours, past a dining hall built for state dinners that will now be hosted by someone else. You stand at the window where you used to wave to crowds. The square is empty. Even the protesters have gone home, satisfied. There's no one left to perform for. They said you came from nowhere. In the end, that's where you went back to.